Hi, I'm Reverend Tricia. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Port Angeles. We're outside today because it's gorgeous out here, and we just wanted to get a little fresh air. So our topic today is breaking open, and I've been getting a lot of inspiration from this book, Broken Open, which I coincidentally ran across when I was looking for novels in a thrift store. And it jumped off the shelf at me, and I thought, well, that looks like a good title. How difficult times can help us grow. I've had a few of those, and I'm very inspired by what this book has to say. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. One of the first things that I really want to focus on are mistakes. I have been a perfectionist in my life. I've been a person who likes to be in control and in charge. I noticed that I felt safe when I had the illusion of control and perfectionism. But I also noticed how hard I've been on myself as a result. And as I've gotten older and hopefully wiser, I've really come to discover how damaging that idea of needing to be perfect has been. How much it has kept me from leaping out a little more boldly into my strength and my power and my connection with something greater than myself. When I think I have to have all the answers, I don't really let a lot of new information in. In this book, she talks about a great physician and scientist named Lewis Thomas. And she said he showed by research into cell biology that species thrive and evolve by making and learning from their mistakes. I thought that was really interesting. Species thrive and evolve by making mistakes. My mother, a very wise minister, says mistakes. We've grown up a lot doing theater and somewhat in film. And when you make a mistake or you make a boo-boo in a film, they just do another take. They say, cut, let's try that again. It's a mistake. So we can do another one. We can do a do-over. Most things. A former minister of mine called it research and development. Scientists learn by trial and error. Not trial and perfection, but trial and error. We learn what doesn't work, sometimes to discover what does work. So often in my life, when I've made mistakes, I've gone into a darkness, a dark night, a place that feels scary like a dark woods. These woods at night get very, very dark. And it's a little creepy coming from a big city, living out here and walking around in the darkness. And yet, I know I'm safe here and that I'll always be led back to the light. Right now, there's a full moon out, so the light is extremely bright across all of this property, except in the deepest, darkest places. And yet, it's still okay to go there. She talks about having a beginner's mind, as all wisdom teachers have talked about, that if we think we know everything, we are unteachable, and we're not open to all the possibilities that might be available to us when we seem lost, when we feel lost. I've had time after time after time in my life where I was broken down, where I thought, this is it. I can't do any more. I don't know how to go forward. I'm stuck. And so I'm doomed. And it was in those times where something in me, my soul, rose up in protest to say no. This is not the truth. The truth is not that you are broken down, but that you are breaking open, that I have called you to this place so that you could break open to something new, something beyond what you already thought. In the book, she talks about going back to the fairy tales of our childhood, which is a great place to go. She says, take note of the ways in which evil witches and nasty gnomes always appear and lead the children back into life, all the wiser for having confronted them. Only when I confront my darkest parts of myself, that I'm willing to dive deep, Can I discover something new? Can I become wiser in the journey? Joseph Campbell, all great spiritual teachers talk about the Odyssey, the quest, the Holy Grail, the hero's journey, where we have to journey into that dark place that is terrifying, that place that is filled with monsters, the monsters of our own creation, or our own beliefs, or our own unhealed wounds. If we are willing to go into the darkness, to befriend those scary giants, she calls them the sleeping giants. We need to awaken those sleeping giants. She talks about that observers for eons, for centuries, have noticed that when we make an effort to change, she said, I love this, she says it heats up the psyche, and that heat itself attracts demons or sleeping complexes or bitter enemies of the spirit, trouble of some sort. I don't know about you, but that's absolutely the case for me. The minute I claim abundance, everything unlike abundance shows up. The minute I claim personal power, everything unlike personal power makes its way into my consciousness. That's not to stop me. Those things don't come to show up in our lives to stop us. They come to bring us to a new awareness, to step into a greater power, a greater truth, to connect with something greater than ourselves that we are intrinsically a part of, not separate from ourselves, but intrinsic to who we are. My favorite analogy of God or spirit or love or whatever you choose to call it is that it is the ocean, and that we are teaspoons of this ocean. There are the same exact qualities in the teaspoon as there are in the entire ocean. And so if this is so, then I can connect with that power, that presence, when I'm terrified, when I don't know what to do. A former minister of mine says, I don't know what to do, but something inside me knows. I don't know what to do, but something inside me knows. I'm going to invite you just to try that and use this kinesthetic movement, because there's something about when we move, don't hit your neighbor in the head, but there's something about when we move that locks it into our consciousness. So if you're willing, play with me. Take one hand and say, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
But something inside me knows.
But something inside me knows.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
And something inside me knows.
And something inside me knows.
I don't know what to do. Sometimes I just don't know what to do. Sometimes it looks too much, impossible. When I was very clear that I was to begin a spiritual center, not join one that was already existing, not do something that's, a lot of other people do, which is get hired by an existing center, but in fact start a new work. I got clear about that through a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, a lot of contemplation. It's terrifying. It's very scary. Who's going to show up? What's it going to look like? I had this idea about property. Yeah, you showed up. Some people show up. But I had this idea for 15 years of a property, but again, I didn't know what that was going to look like. And then my husband and I started seriously looking, seriously considering this idea. And then my mom and my stepdad decided to come along with us. That was unexpected. I didn't plan that, but there they were. And that made it possible. And we were looking from about last September, seriously hard looking. And then around January, February, March, when I thought we were going to be moved by January, when I thought this whole thing was going to start by January, by about March, my sleeping giants awoke and had their way with me. And I was a mess. I was definitely feeling broken open. It felt like a breakdown, but it was truly breaking open. All the things that I've really worked hard at over the last 25 years to let go of, all of the false beliefs of not enough, all of the powerlessness, all of the I'm good at being second in command, all these stories, these fairy tales that I've told myself for a lot of my life came up. And I could have let that stop me. As the quote so beautifully said, I have the choice to decide how I'm going to look at this. In the book, she says, in times of upset, which in another book that I've read, they say that upsets are really just setups by the universe. Setups to bring it to our attention that which is wanting to be healed. So she says, in times of upset or setup, we have two choices. We can relate to our circumstances as messengers from the deepest part of ourselves, or we can shut down, defend our position, and add yet another layer of protection. When I was going through my stuff in March, I wanted to shut down. I wanted to run. I wanted to quit. I wanted to give it all up. What I really wanted to give up was this idea that it's impossible, that I'm not enough. But that was the way it had to come through. As I continued to relate to these circumstances as messengers instead of as truth, something else came forward. Something else became possible. That's what I want us to know here today. That's what I remind myself by doing this talk. That I have the choice in every given moment to choose my circumstances. Earlier today, I was trying to print the program. And I'm working with a new computer with a new program that wasn't opening my previous programs. I was getting very frustrated. And then I said, wait, what's your talk about? And I took a couple of breaths, and I just took the next step. And I pressed another button, and I tried one more thing, and I did another possibility, and suddenly I had a program. When I can take a breath, when I can step back from what seems to be, there's an opening that is created. These names of the hero's journey and the quest and the Holy Grail search, all of these names describe the process of surrendering to a time of great difficulty, allowing the pain to break us open, and then being reborn stronger, wiser, and kinder. I do know that every time in my life, when I've broken open, when it looked like a breakdown, it was really a breakthrough or a break open, that each time I was a little stronger, a little wiser, a little kinder than I was before. Every time. And so I challenge you to look back in your own life and think about all those times, because we've all had them. Divorces, illness, moving, job loss, money problems, whatever it is. We've had something that has brought us metaphorically or actually to our knees, that had us say, I have no idea what to do here. I'm lost in the woods. The bad gremlins and the scary witches are out to get me. And yet something leads us back when we're willing to look another way. She says, when we descend all the way down to the bottom of a loss and we dwell patiently, that's the hard part, isn't it? To dwell patiently at the bottom of a loss. When we dwell patiently with an open heart in darkness and in pain, we can bring back up with us the sweetness of life and the exhilaration of inner growth. When there is nothing left to lose, we find the true self. The self that is whole, the self that is enough, the self that no longer looks to others for definition or completion or anything but companionship on the journey. When I stopped looking outside for validation, outside to be confirmed that I was a good girl or enough, but kept going back to that inner place in my body, that inner place in my soul and my heart that already knew that I was plenty, that's when I could be teachable. That's when something new could break through.